Welcome to Identity Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Kathleen Perry, and this is episode number 4, Seeing for Yourself, an interview with Dr. Amy Johnson. In today's episode, we're having a conversation, Dr. Amy Johnson and I. She's a psychologist, an author, and a teacher whose work has helped thousands of people relate differently to thought. She's helped them with anxiety and the sense of self. Rather than offering techniques or answers, in our discussion, Amy points again and again to something much simpler, the capacity that each and every one of us has to actually look for ourselves, to notice what's actually happening in our direct experience. And that's all before the mind wants to jump in and interpret or analyze or explain. So this conversation goes deep, but not by adding more understanding, but actually by inviting you into this quieter sense and kind of seeing. There's nothing that you have to do while listening. Just notice what you notice.
Welcome to Identity Matters with Dr. Kathleen Perry. Join in to explore one of life's big questions. Who am I really? The Identity Matters podcast will show you that you are and always have been innately whole and worthy just as you are. So slow down, relax, and enjoy the show.
Here we are. Welcome, Dr. Amy Johnson, and thank you so much for making the time to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathleen. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to explore with you the topic of identity. It seems to me that in that exploration, we're looking at this, who we take ourselves to be, this acquired, thought identified, imagined, conditioned, ego, so many words for it. We're exploring that. And then also the exploration kind of lends itself to, in my mind, when we see identity, to that deeper essence that what we actually are, that isn't always apparent to us, but is really called a lot of things, our true nature, the deeper self, the creative self. And honestly, my experience has been that it's just hard to put words to it, really. You feel it, you know it. Everybody's touched into it. So to me, the exploration of identity is kind of looking at that a little bit. So before I ask any questions, I've got a couple questions that I do want to ask. I'm really interested in hearing about what's kind of been happening with you lately. And particularly maybe a couple questions for you around that would be, when people ask you what your work is really pointing to, how would you describe it these days? Because to me, I've seen this undertone of truth that's always been in your message, but then I've seen quite an evolution of maybe how you talk about it. So how would you describe it? And, in that context, what really feels alive to you in your work right now?
Yeah. I'm answering this just right now. So it's not like I know what I would say, but you asked, so I'm going to just see what's present right here. What is it? What does my work point to? It feels like it points to the nature of reality and just exploring that. And we all think we know what reality is, even if we know that we don't know. Sometimes that can be another assumption, like, oh, I don't know anything, or it's all a mystery or whatever, or I don't know who I am. Like that can be another identity, not knowing who we are, or another assumption. I don't know anything about life, but what does that even mean? So it's just like, I'm always wanting to look at what is the essence of this? What's really going on here? And what that looks like more specifically is like someone comes with anxiety and like, well, what does that mean? What even is anxiety? Who has anxiety? What are the thoughts and beliefs and realities being created from this assumption, I have anxiety? I mean, there's sensation there, there's thoughts there. That's kind of what we know. And then there's this whole thing that happens where it's like it's anxiety and it's happening to me and it happened for this long and it'll probably go on for this long. And I just want to dissect the heck out of that. So any statement a human makes is kind of up for grabs, like let's look at what we're actually looking at and what are we actually talking about and who is the one who has this problem. And so I think probably on the face of it, my work might look pretty similar to how it's always looked in terms of working with people with anxiety and maybe habits and things like that. But once we get into the conversation, those conversations tend to go in a really kind of just weirdly deep, like just like the deepest kind of place I can imagine them going. Like, what is it we're even talking about?
Yeah. Fascinating. A topic that can change everything, right? In someone's life, an experience of life.
Yeah.
When you really stop taking for granted that you know anything.
Yes. Yeah. And how fun to like dig into it, and to look around and see what it is we're thinking and feeling. And yeah, it's just fun.
What do you think actually is knowable? Is it more about the exploration? Or like to me, it doesn't seem like there's necessarily with some of those questions that you're ever going to arrive at a definitive answer, that it's more about stopping the mind from thinking that you do know.
Yeah. I think when you say, like when you say, is it more about the exploration? I think what comes up for me in that, or like what's knowable, is this different way of knowing. What you're saying is like, we can't know with the mind. And you're right. Like we don't need a definitive answer and we're never going to get one. But how, like, so a question could be like, well, how do we know? Like, how do we know what we know? What's kind of our way in, our tool? And so I think there's so much in just what I've been talking about is like dropping down into this felt sense of things. The mind doesn't know. The mind is recycled concepts, basically. Pointers, representations, great. We need it. We need language. They point to something important, but the question is always like, what is being pointed to here? Like, what are we really talking about? And so I think about with feeling, and this another just loaded concept, but if we drop kind of into this feeling space where it's more intuitive, it's more just kind of based on hunches and instincts and moving on instinct and moving by intuition and just watching what happens rather than thinking about what we should be doing, that feels really alive. And like in a way we can know a lot there, but it's not the kind of knowing that we're used to. It's not like we're going to be able to teach it, and write a textbook about it, but we don't have to because it's like alive and in the moment and we know in a way that it translates into life and action.
It's built in, it's baked in. It isn't, that way of knowing is innate to us. But we're used to operating by, listening to the thought-based, right? Identity, way of being, way of making decisions, way of experiencing. I love what you're talking about. And that's accessible to anybody. But no, it's so uncommon in our society, I think, not taught to navigate your life that way or run your business that way or raise your children that way or manage your anxiety or change habits from that place. But I've had experience myself and with my clients that when you operate from that deeper knowing, life is just so much easier. It's so much more fun. And it works. The intellect, is it Einstein's quote about, I won't get it right, but something about, the mind should be the servant, not the master, the intellect, and this whole deeper intuitive, we just know it's there, but we ignore it. I think we suppress it. We're not trained to trust it. I think I work with more women than men, but it's true for everybody, every age, every gender, that we just, I think, don't trust it.
Yeah.
And maybe don't recognize the nuances of how to, like you're talking about, dropping in. I don't know. It seems to me that there's a uniquely personal way of hearing that and feeling and sensing that intuitive. And we just have to make the time too. For me, it's a lot about just like taking time.
Yeah.
I know you're up some silent retreats and how you've been loving that. And that, oh my gosh, that must be amazing. I've done little bits and pieces of that. So anyway, yeah, what do you think about this navigating life from that?
It's so interesting. I mean, I think this is so important. You're right that when you say it's like uniquely personal, that feels really important. And it because, not personal in the identity sense, personal so much, but just that it is unique and we feel our own way in. We can't really teach it. But you can kind of point to it like you are. And it's like we feel into something, and I think what gets in the way for people, one of the things is that we're looking with the mind for it to show up a certain way. Like we want it to show up the way the mind thinks it should show up, like a flash of insight or like some instant clarity or even a conclusion, period. Even a like, oh, this is what I need to do. And sometimes it does. I mean, there are things concluded from intuition all the time for sure. But to me, it just feels very fluid and very nonverbal. And I think maybe that's like a helpful pointer. It's like you feel into this deeper energy of something, and there's just a noticing of action, like action springs from that intelligence of feeling, or inclination springs from the intelligence of that feeling. And there's almost like a way that the mind wants to get in there and grab the intuitive, grab like the intelligence from it and then turn it into a conclusion. And then now we're back to thinking. So it's the way, I mean, and obviously like we see this all the time, like with babies and nature and all kinds of, and with us all the time, like if you just go eat when you're hungry, like there was no need for conclusions in that. But we have these beliefs, I guess, that you can't live a life like that. Like maybe you can eat when you're hungry and that happens. Your body just naturally falls asleep. It's almost like we have these rules about, there's these classes of things that, yes, are totally intuitive and instinctual and natural. And I can get on board with that. But when it comes to my business or my relationship or something like that, that's a totally different thing. And really, I mean, I think what we're saying is it's not at all, not even a little bit different. It's the exact same. The only thing going on is we're just trained, to think so much about the other stuff. So to me, like one of the metaphors I love for this way of kind of feeling in or dropping in is like swimming. It's kind of like I sometimes I used to imagine this a lot. Like I'd be kind of just swimming through my day, and as opposed to thinking and like stepping and anything kind of more concrete, because swimming is very fluid. It's very by feel. It's like your body's just doing it, and I don't know, for me, that's like a really good pointer into like, hey, what if you kind of just swim your way or feel your way through life? And there will still be thought, of course, like we're always going to notice narrative mind coming in, making self-referential thoughts, drawing conclusions. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different way, so we kind of go back to the swimming when we notice that and just almost like feel for what makes sense there or like what wants to happen from that place.
Yeah, I love that little metaphor of swimming. That feels really good. Mm-hmm. And the narrator can still be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's research, Amy, about how we think we made a decision about taking an action, and action was happening, and then the brain comes in afterwards and claims that it decided to do that. You know what I'm referring to?
Yeah.
The scientific studies that have shown that we didn't think, oh, I'm going to go make a peanut butter sandwich. Like that kind of intuitive idea occurred. And then we got up and we walked to the kitchen, and the mind that, narrates and said, yep, I thought that up. I was sitting at my desk. I felt the sensation of hunger, and it claims, dominion over that. When in fact, we are just swimming through our life and then telling a story about it.
Yeah. It's like, it's all just, everything's happening, and then including exactly a story about a me having made it happen. But that's just arising spontaneously too. Nobody's doing that story either.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you wish that more people knew, coming back to the idea of identity being who we take ourselves to be, and who and what we actually are? What's something that you really wish people could see around that might help them?
Well, I think it'd be good if people just learn to look more. Because I think, even if we think we're looking, a lot of times we're not really looking. So just look for whatever it is that you take yourself to be. Like, who are you really? I mean, are you some role? Are you the body? Are you something in the body? Are you memories? Like, whatever it feels like we are is fine, but let's just really look and see if we find ourselves there. Like, how could you be in the body? How would that even make any sense, really? Now, it makes a lot of sense when we're just talking about it, because we're all conditioned to tell the same stories. But it doesn't take much actual direct experience to see, like, this has to be a theory at best, because I don't find myself in a body. It might seem like I'm in a body. It does. We're taught that. It seems like like there's a me in a body somehow. But we don't, no one knows that. You certainly don't know that for sure. You've never directly experienced yourself in a body, if you're really honest and you really look. We don't even know what that means. Where in the body are you? Like, how would that even possibly work? I mean, it gets pretty humorous when you really start to look and you see, like, science knows what's in a body. It's never found a self in there. Like, where are you? Are you in the bones and the blood vessels? Like, where in the body do you honestly think you are? And it starts to kind of reveal, like, okay, yeah, there's just a lot of belief and assumption. And we can do that with anything. Where in your memories do you think you are? Like, well, how does a memory prove a you? A memory is what? It's a flat kind of mental image. It's some thoughts. Like, how does that say anything or actually prove anything about you? So I think that's what I wish people would do, because that's just what, I don't know what's best for everyone. I maybe people are better off being really identified, but I think if people are curious and they really want to know the truth of things, then they'll look and then they'll see what they're meant to see, but I just think a lot of people don't. We just don't, it's not their fault even, but we just really don't know how to look, or we're kind of afraid to look. So I think when we look, a lot of stuff gets cleared up.
Wow. Yeah. That right there is super, super powerful. So using direct experience as a way of looking, and talk about that a little bit more so that people can get a sense of, well, how do I drop into my direct experience? What would be something that somebody could do on their own?
Yeah. I mean, one really important distinction there is direct experience is not thought. So what kind of a question you can ask is like, what's here that's not thought? Or if you're looking for this sense of self, let's say you're looking for yourself, like let's That's fine. What's the center of the sense of self? There's a sense of self here. We all have that until we don't anymore. But like, what is it? Where is it? We don't want to just think about it. We want to feel, again, kind of swim around and feel our way into it. That's kind of how you would do that in direct experience. So one way that I've learned to do this is if you're looking for like trying to find the sense of self, you can feel into direct experience and look like what feels most personal right now. Where am I? What feels personal? What feels like me? And so often people find things like, or kind of identify something like, oh, I have a really tightness in my chest, or I feel kind of a sense of a me behind the eyes. Like these are really common, right? There's a sense of a me in the head or behind the eyes, or I feel some sensation somewhere in the body. And then we just look, okay, great. That showed up. I'm looking for me. Those things are highlighted. Is that what you are? There's a sensation behind the eyes. There's a sense of a me in the head. Great. Go right there. Go right into that. Swim into it. Swim into that sensation. Feel around. Check it out. Look for the center. Go right into this where it seems like I am in the head. Feel around in there. Is that you? Is that sensation you? Is there something else there that's a you? And honestly, like, I mean, to just treat this like we're really kind of slow and like just really examine it. Like, because the mind will come in and be like, well, no, that's not me or whatever. You know, it'll want to short circuit the whole thing. Like, just swim around and like, don't stop till you're really sure. Like, is that what you are? Is those sensations, or that seems like sense? And, you know, I think what people find is like, okay, no, that's where attention went and said me, but I didn't find a me there. And then attention goes somewhere else and says, oh, this is me. This memory I just had, or this sense of being in the body, that's me. Or my thought about what I'm going to do later, that must be me. And then we just check those out, like, but really look and really check each one out and see, okay, is that actually what I am?
Yeah, I've done that, Amy. I've done that with my clients. And I find that, and maybe this is just, you know, evidence of my personal evolution, but I find that going back to that, because I get caught up in thought, you know, I get seduced by it, I guess, you know, and identified with it. And to ask that question again, well, who am I? Where am I? And to actually look. And then I get proof that there's not this me behind me, my eyes. And I'm like, okay, for a while, till I get kind of caught up in some triggering circumstance. And, you know, or for me, oftentimes too, and I think it's from being in healthcare for so long, there's been so much identification with the body. Oh, you know, my ankles look swollen. Like, what does that mean? And to just come back and do that looking for the me. Am I even the body? And the impact, I think, on the body's well-being by doing that is tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny thing. It's like, it does seem kind of weird and easy to get distracted and all of that in the beginning. But I mean, it's just so interesting how much it kind of just starts to dawn. Like, I'm not, like, you know, what is this body thing? It's an object. And yes, it gets swollen at times and it gets sick and there's pain and there's all kinds of stuff. But is that what I am? And I mean, really, it does feel like that up to a point. It's like there's so much association with the body, but you can always take that next step back and just wonder, like, well, wait a minute, who's looking? Am I the one? Am I the body, or am I the one curious about the swollen ankles? Am I the one, you know, doing this investigation? If you feel like you're the watcher of it or you're the one inquiring into it, well, where is that? Mm-hmm. You know, if you're the body, you can't also be watching the body. And so that's one of the things that happens all the time is all of a sudden there's multiple eyes. We think we're so solid and stable. Like, no, I'm me. I'm just me, and I'm always here and I'm consistent. But then you start looking and now there's something being noticed, like a sensation. And then there's something noticing that sensation that also kind of feels like you. And then maybe there's something that's aware of the noticing. Now, before you know it, there's, 40 yous instead of just one. And what does that tell us? Like, that's fascinating. And we chase each of those down and looking for the real me in there. And what do we find?
Yes.
We find it all.
And so it seems, Amy, that what's happening is noticing is happening, watching is happening, observing is happening, but there's not even a me doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Talk
But there's
about
something.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say there's something really like we kind of have to go through the motions. Even if we know that, it's like we kind of have to do the investigation and let it keep coming up short over and over again. And then it really starts to.
Thanks for saying that, because, I was kind of like, ooh, I find myself needing to go back and give myself that little reminder when the body's really doing something crazy, or when, some circumstances around me. And yet, I don't know, so many people have had this experience where there is a emergency happening and we just drop into the knowing of what to do. Like thought just, it becomes so obvious that thinking isn't going to solve this emergency. I don't know anybody who hasn't had that experience. But short of a life and death, apparent life and death, circumstances look bad. And I find myself having to remind myself again, to just look and say, okay, what's really happening here? What am I imagining, and what is actually here? And who and what actually am I in all of this? And that level of, I remember saying, okay, there's not a me behind the eyes. But for a while, there was the sense that there was an observer. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, but that's not me either. Like you said, there's these 40 identities, one being the one who's observing. And that's just happening. It seems like
sometimes it feels like you can go back, like the witness has something tangible to it, the one watching or the observer. So then we just look there, and then probably exactly like is always the case, you go back and you feel into that observer and you can kind of get it, but then it shifts. So then it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. I don't know where the observer really is. And so it's just very, very revealing. Yeah. To just keep going back.
And it feels like a strategy, but it's not. And have you seen that as people just do this, start to look for the me, that anxiety and habits and the things you work with, like without a strategy, just begin to resolve themselves? Or how does that work?
Yeah, because there's a little bit of a strategy to the looking for the self, but then yes, that seems like it clears up. It does clear up so much. Anxiety can still be there, or habit can still be there, but it's gonna feel really different eventually as the identity that it wraps around becomes looser and looser. It's just like, because then it is just a feeling arising. It's just an inclination to behave arising. It's not my problem that needs a ton of my attention. I think a lot of this is about attention. Attention, when we feel like a self, attention naturally goes to me, my life, what I did, what I should do, how I feel, what I'm thinking. It can't help it. It's like attention gets very sucked in and contracted when it feels like there's a self here. As soon as we start to see through that self, attention gets to expand. So all of a sudden, there can be a feeling of anxiety or even a panic, or anything arises, a sense of self, a strong sense of self, but now attention is wider. Now attention is expanded. And so it's like these things are kind of just popping up in the field, and there's a lot of room around them. They're not a problem. They don't need to be acted on. They don't need to go away. And eventually, I think what happens is attention just keeps expanding, and there's just this sense of awareness. It's very expansive and very spacious, because if we don't believe that I'm a me, with all these thoughts and feelings and body and all of that, if we don't identify with that, there's no need for attention to stay in that narrow little channel. It just has room to kind of move out like it wants to do.
When you say that, I just feel my heart fluttering because I've been wired, it seems like me my whole life, but this sense of being this aliveness around possibility and potential for humans. And that when we get out of that box of a me and drawing the attention into this narrow focus and allowing this expansiveness that you're talking about, where awareness just becomes literally unlimited, that possibilities are, that excites me so much.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah. And that's really at the basis of it. I mean, if you think about it, if it's like we're just in this tiny little channel, let's just keep expanding. Clearly, so much more is going to be seen and sensed, and it's all here right now. It's just not seen and sensed because of where attention goes. So that's why you're excited about this, is the potential is already here. It doesn't need to be created. Anything's possible. We just don't have the eyes to see it because our eyes are focused on me. When our eyes aren't focused on me so much, then we see a lot more.
Yeah. No, for me, if I were to ask myself the question, what is it around this topic of identity that I would want people to see? It's that when the focus of attention can widen and can be free of identification with the me, then anything and everything is possible. Everything.
Yeah.
Healing. I don't like that word healing, but it's a word to describe the dropping away of, disharmony in the body, in the spirit, and that leads to a freedom and to a sense of aliveness, of complete unlimited possibility.
Yeah.
And I think we can have an intention. I think that's good too, to allow desire to. I've played with that a lot. Should I want, or should I just allow the universe to just bring me what? And I think it's fun to play with that a little bit, to decide, well, I want to look in sort of a direction, but without a heavy commitment to a specific outcome. More for me, it's been more like, and I notice my clients get excited about this too. We think we want the thing, but it's really the feeling, we want that feeling of that thing.
Yeah.
And to say, I want to feel joy. I want to feel freedom. I want to feel creative expression, which is already accessible. Mm-hmm. It's right here. We just have to take our focus off the me.
Yeah.
And then that flows.
Yeah.
Have you seen that happen in your life personally as a result of this looking?
Yes. And when you talk about healing, I mean, I don't love that word either, but I mean, it's just a word. It just implies that there's something broken, which is not true. I mean, it's just how the word sounds, I think. But yes, I think that's exactly what happens, is there's this expansiveness in which anything that doesn't match that expansiveness of our true nature, it wants to arise. But when we're so contracted and we're trying to control me and my life, and there's certain things we don't want to see because they mean something about me, and we're in that kind of place, this deeper stuff can't even come up. This is why when people sit in silence for a week, for example, or when you're asleep and you have dreams about things, right? That you're like, oh, there's something to that. I haven't thought about that in years. Or, you're just in a relaxed state.
Or out in nature.
In the dark. Yes. Like this stuff tends to arise because there's space for the first time in a while. So I think that's what I've seen. And I think that's for sure what starts to happen is it's like we get very expansive, or relatively so. Attention widens, and then whatever is left that's kind of a mismatch with who we are, I guess you could say, it wants to arise. It's here to be seen. It's here to be felt. It's here to be kind of understood as like, oh, that's old. That's an old pattern. That I don't need that anymore. That's not true of me. Whatever it is, but I think the freedom or the space around it is what allows that stuff to come up.
And I think when people get a taste of that, how we were talking about, it's okay in this domain of life, but I wouldn't run my business like that. Or, you know what I mean? You get a little taste of it in one arena of your life, and it's so exciting. Like, wow, look at what is accessible here when I stop bringing my attention back to me and what's wrong with me. Mm-hmm. I don't even know, Amy, I know we've got a limited amount of time, but I heard something in what you just said about, when a pattern of thinking or I don't know, what popped in my mind is the word shadow, like something comes up to be felt and seen. And I've been so interested in that over the last year or so. Like, how much do I want to feel it and look at it and take it apart and dissect it? And how much do I want to just go back to what I actually am, this expansive, open awareness, this inner silence? And so what I've landed on, and I'd love to hear what you think about it, is that it's almost like life, if I let it, will show me. If I quiet the mind that's trying to figure out if I should go deeper into doing shadow work or if I should just go to the expansive, I am universal intelligence and I'm one with God. Mm-hmm. If I just let go of the thinking about it, one or the other happens.
Yeah.
Like the work gets done or it doesn't. So it isn't wrong to say, don't want to dig into my past, don't want to fix, don't want to, and I'll get that sense with a client too, like just an intuitive sense, like, no, let's not go there. Let's see if we can just feel into this expansive, open awareness that we are, unbound consciousness, and that might not be important. But the decision to go this way or that way isn't really on me because there isn't a me to make the decision. So it looks like if I can just let go thinking about it, one or the other will happen. And then it seems to be for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I used to have that conundrum in my mind too. At one point, it really looked like, do I like rest as awareness or do I like really look for the self and do the, and I think it's exactly what you're saying. It's like it's already just a thought that's trying to own and make that decision. And it's like, whatever needs to happen is going to happen. I think oftentimes when we do kind of just use that phrase, rest as awareness, when we just let things be expansive and open, kind of like we're saying, if something wants to be seen, it's going to show up. We were never making this stuff show up. And it could even show up like, hey, you know what? This is comfortable, but I think I want to dig in a little bit and do some shadow work. It might show up that way. That still doesn't mean there's a you that made that decision. That's just the narrative that showed up and that brought it there. Or it could just pop in from nowhere and be like, whoa, where did that come from? It's the same thing. It's still just life just arises the way it arises, right? So it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I think you're totally right. It's like it just further removes the whole sense of a me that has to make a decision from the whole equation. And we're just along for the ride, like whatever we are, we're just along for the ride.
We are along for the ride. So why not just sit on that magic carpet and not fight it? You are the absolute best person, coach, psychologist, author. I don't even want to there's no way to put enough labels on you to define what and how your work has impacted me, but around thought. Oh my gosh, you're a wizard. You're amazing with that. And recently, when you started talking about imagination, that was so helpful to me. And that's been something I've used with my clients. It's been really helpful too. Are we sensing what's really here, or are we in imagination? That distinction helped me even see thought, spot thought. Like I think you're just a genius at spotting thought. And anyway, talk about that a little bit more. How do you see that distinction of, and how does the word imagination, or how do you guide people to ask, am I in imagination or reality, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess reality, which is a little bit of a loaded word too, but it's like kind of what we were saying earlier. All of these are, is like just this swimming feeling. It's like direct, felt sense. It's to me, it just feels like another dimension. It feels really simple like that. And these dimensions almost have locations in my experience. It's like that's why I say drop down. Like I can drop down and feel my way into intuition and feel into what wants to be felt here. Or it feels like a rising up. It feels like thought happens up here somewhere. Now just hold that loosely if you're listening, because it's not like that's real. But I know other people that feel it similarly. So it's almost like there's this deeper felt dimension to life. And then there's this heady, kind of more dense, upper dimension. It feels a little higher. It's like this other dimension to life, which is thought. And it's made of pictures and words and stories and imagination. And I mean, I call it imagination because it's not, even if it's like trying to describe something that's deeply felt, it's just a representation, it's just a pointer. So thought is never the actual thing. It's always representational, which is great. There's a lot of things that, menus and maps and all kinds of things are representational. It doesn't make them bad, and thought isn't bad. We just want to know. You don't want to eat the menu, right? You want to eat the food. So you just want to know the difference. And with thought, I think it's just wild to see how we don't really know the difference until we start to look. We literally live 95+% of our attention in thought, most people, most of our lives. And we confuse that with reality and feeling. And, people say all the time, I feel that, I feel fat, I feel unwanted. Those aren't feelings, those are thoughts. There's no feeling of fat. There's no feeling of no one likes me. Those are thoughts. And it's important to see the difference because if we don't see that, like no thought is the truth. It's always a very, very biased representation based on our conditioning, based on cues in the environment, based on biology, based on all kinds of stuff. And it's really important to kind of see thought as thought so that we aren't hanging on it so much. So that's why I like to call it imagination, because it kind of puts it, to me, it kind of puts it in its place. It's like, yeah, I can tell a story that no one likes me and I feel fat. I don't know where that came from, but no one likes me and I feel fat. Or I can tell a story of, Cinderella or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and they're both stories.
Yes.
Honestly, neither is more true. I mean, one of them might point to this body and people around and their facial expressions, but still from that, the imagination has gleaned a story from that. It is no more true than Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We could point to a picture book and see her there. I mean, what are we really talking about? So thought is always imagination. And then the contrast to that, is kind of more what we're doing when we're sort of in this felt sense where we don't even, we do know, but we don't know. We're just, there's just like an intelligence and a pull and a sensing of things that is very wise, very intelligent, but it's not wise in the mind kind of way.
Yeah. That right there, that little bit right there, I feel if anybody listening could really grok that piece, oh my gosh, that in itself would change their life if they could make this distinction between, and you had a recent podcast, right, about 5%, 95%? Mm-hmm. Talking exactly about that. So directing people to that episode, I think, where you really go into this. in your book, Just a Thought, is really good too. The opposite of that, and I loved everything you said. I could dive into the dimensions and the location. I feel like in our society, unless somebody has maybe done breath work or yoga, like we are so disembodied. Mm-hmm. There is just myself too. I mean, it really has, and I'm a body worker. I was a chiropractor, an energy worker, but actually to really drop down in my body, it has only been in recent years that I've actually been doing that kind of as a practice. You know, I used to go to yoga because it was a great way to get strong and flexible as a workout, till I found yoga classes that were about something way more what yoga is about. And so, yeah, that's I'm going to be exploring more on this podcast about ways to embody, which is unique to each person. But I find some breath work and some types of yoga and getting into these sacred geometries and breathing while you do it have been, unique, but people will land on something that helps them. But I think those things help make that distinguishing difference between imagination and this felt sense of what's actually right here.
Yeah, I think so too. It's great. And you have to explore it that way. Like, it doesn't have to be by yoga, but it has to be by actually doing it, not thinking about it, and just feeling and swimming our way through. I mean, it's just all exploratory.
Yes. Well, Amy, I am so grateful for the time that you've given me and our podcast audience. And is there anything else that you want to add, or anything you think we missed, or?
No, I think this is great. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I think I loved your questions. I think the bit about imagination versus direct experience is so huge, and hopefully people can really get a sense of how to look for the sense of self. And some of the examples we gave, there's some great books on that too that we could recommend. But yeah, I mean, I just think that practice itself is just so.
What would you? I mean, since you brought it up, what pops into mind? A book for looking at direct experience.
Yeah, the best book I know on this is a book called Deep Self-Investigation. It's by Dan Kelso. And it's really kind of what we sort of walk through here. It's this practice of scanning and feeling for what feels most personal and really looking, is that what I am? So yeah, I would definitely check that one out.
Cool. And I know that you have some silent retreats coming up. I would like you, if you don't mind, to just take a brief moment and talk about the power of silence and how it's impacted you and how you've seen it impact the people that have participated with you. And then I can put information in the show notes where people can find out about your upcoming retreats, which are both happening, I think, in February 2026.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. If you want to give specifics about that, I think that would be good too. But tell us why you're so drawn to, and what have you seen as the outcomes for you personally and for people that attend your retreats?
Yeah, I think like a longer period of silence. We can do this all the time, and we can feel for the silence that's here. Even like I can feel silence behind the words that are being said right now. So there's silence all the time. It's silence in the noise even. But there's something about sitting for a prolonged period of time in silence where you're feeling in, and in my retreats, I'm pointing people toward this, like feeling into what's always here. Feeling into that sense of being. There is some awareness, some beingness that is always here. And when we don't have to make eye contact and say please and thank you and hold doors open for people and check emails, Like when that stuff's not coming in to distract, this sense of beingness that's in the background gets very prominent. And especially when we're sitting in silence with attention on it, it grows like in a way that's pretty remarkable. I mean, you feel it. Your body, for me, my body starts buzzing. Like it's a very physical experience. It can be a very emotional experience. It's very spacious often. It's a lot of what we talked about earlier, where in that spaciousness, maybe something that we hadn't thought about or seen in years comes up to be seen and healed. There's just something magical about that much time in silence. On my retreats, I lead a guided meditation every day. So I'm kind of pointing people toward the kind of investigation that we just went through. So you can spend your time in silence looking for the self. You know, all kinds of different things come up, but it just feels very perfect for each person. And people always, even if it happens to be a miserable experience, which sometimes it is. I wouldn't say it's miserable. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's very blissful. You don't know what you're going to get, but I know for sure that we just get what we need to get. So even when it's hard, people always come away and are like, I'm glad I did it. Maybe I'm glad it's over, but I'm glad I did it. And a lot of times people crave doing it again. Like me, I got a little addicted to it. Like I just love it so much. So those are some of the benefits. I mean, it's pretty amazing if you can do it. So yeah, I have 2 in February. I have one in near Asheville, North Carolina, the first week of February. And then I have one in Taos, New Mexico, the last week of February.
Great. Well, Amy, again, I appreciate your generosity, your passion about what you do. And thank you so much for all the lives that you've already impacted and the future lives that will be impacted by those that are able to listen to this podcast. And on a personal note, I just adore you. And you've touched my life in so many ways. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I'm really, really touched to be your first guest. So thanks so much.
Yes, you are the first. Thank you for listening to Identity Matters. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you're ready to delve further into this journey of self-discovery and uncover your innate wholeness, I invite you to consider one-on-one coaching with me. Together, we can explore the unique challenges and opportunities in your life or your business or both. And through that exploration, help you align with your true self. To learn more about my coaching services, visit drkathleenperry.com/services.